In a single moment, everything changed completely. I was up in the attic at my parents' house, helping my husband Daniel clean out old boxes, just an ordinary task that seemed nothing out of the ordinary. Then suddenly, his face went pale, his eyes locked onto a small gap behind dusty insulation panels. He whispered, his voice trembling, "Don't react. Wait until your mom leaves." My heart stopped, and my whole body froze for a moment. What he had discovered was not simple. It was a secret buried deep for 19 years. As I opened that cardboard box with shaking hands and flipped through the pages, I read the words that shook my entire life. "You are not their biological child." That was when I realized my world would never be the same. You might think such a revelation would come with thunderous noise and explosive emotions like in the movies, but no, there was only my heavy breathing and the thin layer of dust cloaking secrets long forgotten. Now I had to choose. Stay silent or seek the truth? And if I chose the truth, could I stand strong? Don't take your eyes off, this story has never been more intense and gripping. On Easter, my family gathered at my parents' house. My husband, Daniel, was cleaning the attic when his face suddenly changed and he whispered, "Don't react. Wait until your mother is gone." I saw what he had discovered, but I didn't collapse and took action. Just 3 days later, my parents were anxiously calling a lawyer. I used to think that if there was an event that turned my world upside down, there would be background music, thunder, or some kind of cinematic sound. But no, there was only dust. A pile of cardboard boxes labeled Christmas stuff, and my mother's attitude of calmly humming along to Michael Bublé as if she didn't know she was standing on a pile of secrets that no one in the family dared to talk about. Simmering arguments, emotional silence. The attic remained the same, no different from a place of old ribbons, discarded decorations, and a feeling of shame that quietly disappeared. My dad said he would clean the attic the way he always did, saying things without doing anything. "Yeah, like always," I said. Daniel offered to help, as he always did, always there when others tried to ignore him. I was still reaching into a box full of tangled wires when I noticed the unusual silence, looked up to see Daniel hiding behind the boxes, his eyes fixed on something, not blinking, not breathing. "Daniel," I said, and he moved just a little to look at me. His face was white. He stood up, knelt beside me, and whispered, "Don't react. Wait until your mother leaves." At that moment, I sensed that it was not just a feeling of unease but something so serious that my body had forgotten how to function. He didn't say, "Come and see," or, "You have to know," but just said, "Don't react." My heart burned like a tight knot in my chest. "What is it?" I asked, trying to keep my voice even. He didn't answer, just glanced at Mom, who had switched to singing Mariah Carey, making the scene all the more tragic. My mom stood there, wrapping the old statues in bubble wrap as if they were precious antiques rather than buried secrets. "It's not convenient here," Daniel said, "we'll have to wait until Mom leaves." I stood up automatically, walked to the top of the stairs, and called down, "Mom, do you have a long hose vacuum? It's easier to use than a broom." Mom answered cheerfully, as if nothing had happened, and went downstairs. As soon as she was out of sight, Daniel pointed to the space behind the insulation, almost like a fold in the wall that someone had tried to hide. There were boxes pushed in front of it, along with a roll of carpet rolled up over it as if to hide some tortured and hidden wound. Daniel didn't touch it. He stood aside, watching me. I shifted the boxes with my not my own hands and pulled out a closed cardboard box, the lid slightly open as if it had been opened quickly and then closed. I opened the lid, and inside was a file, the cream-colored paper slightly wrinkled, neat. Picking it up, it felt heavier than it looked. My hands were sweaty. Turning it over, I saw my name clearly printed. Daniel didn't say anything, but I knew he had read it. I opened it a little, saw the legal style header. He leaned over and tapped a paragraph. I read a sentence, then stopped. My body didn't move, but my brain seemed to take a step back. The atmosphere in the attic changed. Not physically, but emotionally, like someone had turned on a light I hadn't known before. My ears rang, and I could still hear Michael Bublé downstairs, my mother laughing. Finally, I whispered, "We have to leave, now." Daniel nodded. We folded the file, put it in our coats, and quietly went downstairs. Mom stood at the bottom of the stairs, holding the vacuum cleaner, asking if she used the chair attachment. I didn't pay any attention to what she said after that. We got to the car, closed the door. Silence. The file pressed against my chest like it had become a part of me. Something had slipped away, or rather, it was finally complete. I used to think that the youngest in the family was just a supporting character, just reacting to what was happening to others. But as I got older, I realized that no, sometimes the spotlight never really shines on you. My sister, Natalie, was born 4 years before me, and seemed wiser than me by a century. From a young age, I knew she was the standard. Everything about me was compared to Natalie. She loved math, I loved creativity. She got good grades, I just had a good attitude. She got a trophy, I got a participation ribbon and a reminder to smile for pictures. Not cruelly, but subtly, my parents, especially my mother, made comparisons without seeming like they were, as if they were simply commenting on the weather. I was perceptive and learned not to demand too much attention. Natalie's life was a lifestyle newsletter that made people shake their heads in dismay. She had won a scholarship to a business program whose name was hard to pronounce and sounded luxurious. There was a photo of her holding her certificate, smiling brightly next to her mother, as if she had entrusted her entire future to her after graduation. Natalie started a health and productivity consulting business, complete with mindfulness journals, digital planners, clean fonts, and precise lighting. The company had a clear vision, full of Instagram reviews before it had a physical store. Her business was a success from the start. People admired her, told her she was a genius, born for it. She had developed the kind of arrogance that people forgive when they're pretty and charming on a microphone. She would interrupt people, correct them in normal conversation, use words like energy conversion, as if the rest of us were just playing catch-up. She used to call me cute when I was renting, like, my gosh, still in that little apartment, like I was some rescue dog with a good attitude. My mom was obsessed with it, not proud, but obsessed. Not just supportive, but following her every step of the way, holding her course books, reposting her quotes on Facebook, saying things like, "Natalie is changing lives like we're all part of a religion." Natalie was the one on stage with the microphone. She asked about my work constantly, gave me marketing advice, read out compliments like bedtime stories. She didn't really ask what I did or understand my work. I stopped correcting around 2019. She rarely asked, and when she did, it was to make fun of me, like I was doing some junior duty. When I answered, she nodded vaguely, said, "Oh, good for you," and changed the subject. There was only one person who did not treat me as a supporting character, Mrs. Sylvia, who was said to be my great-grandmother, but she was not distant. She was close, steady, like someone who remembered everything I had left unsaid. Her house smelled of lemon soap and old books. There were glass cabinets with teacups that were never used, picture frames, but no one in them. She listened more than she spoke, in contrast to everyone else. She gave me a birthday card with a change of money, asked me what I was reading, took me for walks, called me smart without consoling me. Once in the garden, she bent down and said, "Maybe one day this will be yours." I was 7, didn't understand what she meant, just liked to hear it. She died when I was 9. I don't remember when she was sick, only a day when she was there, and then not after the funeral. My parents said she left me debt. The big house was an illusion, nothing to inherit. She lived comfortably but was in terrible debt. My mother said it like human wisdom. They said it so many times that I just nodded silently. I memorized it, trying not to ask to wear the bracelet she gave me when I got in the car. I opened the file. No suspense, no slow page turning. I opened it. Needed to see. Needed something to say. Daniel's words echoed in my head, "You have to see." My name was at the top. Date, 19 years ago. This was a trust fund Sylvia had set up. Legal, with a raised seal of approval. The trust was in my name. Sylvia had appointed Carol and Richard, my parents, as guardians and trustees. It was clearly stipulated that they would disclose everything on my 18th birthday. The assets, whatever they were mine. There was even a letter tucked away among the pages, as if someone hoped it wouldn't be overlooked. I opened it. Dear Mara, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Your foster parents decided it was time for you to know the truth. I pray they've told you everything. You deserve to know who you are. I'm Sylvia, your great-grandmother, but really your grandmother. Your biological mother, Celia, was my daughter, and she died when you were young. Too young to remember, but not too young to be remembered. After Celia died, Carol, your mother's half-sister, and her husband, Richard, adopted you. They became your guardians, for which I'm grateful. But I want to make it clear that they are not your biological parents. I set up this trust so you'll have a solid foundation, a future just for you. I hope they did the right thing. I hope you never feel like you're the one behind. With all my love, Sylvia. I looked at the letter, the signature, the words, and realized that I wasn't their biological child. My whole life was slightly shaken, out of sync. Daniel sat next to me, saying nothing. I folded the letter, put it in the file, and sat still, breathing evenly as if I had just learned how to live again. When he handed the file to the lawyer, he did not flinch but nodded slowly, as if this often happened. He said, the first step is to send a formal request for an audit. They must provide a full financial report. Daniel remained silent, his hand resting lightly on my leg. I just nodded too. It felt like living underwater, everything drifting. The letter was the only key I had, still echoing in my head. The request was sent that weekend. I imagined the envelope lying on their doorstep. They did not call right away. On the second day, at exactly 10 a.m., the phone rang. Mom called. I let it ring once and answered. Her voice was cold from beginning to end. Are you serious? You're suing us? No greeting, no inquiry, just anger. You didn't say anything. Mom was getting agitated. You know, what we gave you is everything. You wouldn't be here if it weren't for us. I was about to laugh, not out of joy, but out of familiarity. The angry voice, the shifting volume. The kind of motherly anger that hits me like a live wire waiting to be overloaded. Mom, I said evenly, don't call me Mom now. I heard footsteps, pictured Mom walking through the kitchen, cordless phone in one hand, anger burning in the other. Maybe she was still wearing that lemon blossom apron. We raised you, fed you. Do you know how much it costs to raise a child? And you want to be paid? There was a pause long enough for me to know I'd hit the mark. Then Richard's voice from the next room, tell him we'll fight. They put the speaker on. Mom scolded again, you're not a victim. We did what we had to do. I stood up, where's the money? Carol was surprised. The trust fund? Silence. Where did the money go? Was it for Natalie? Carol clenched her jaw. How do you think we should explain any choice that doesn't include you? You're not grown up. We put the money where our mouth is. Then Richard added, in a low, firm voice. To the right person. That was the moment I stopped talking. I opened the door and stood in front of them. They looked at me longer than they should have, as if daring me to move. You're not my son anymore, Carol said. Go have fun. She left the box of cookies on the table and left. That night, I sat at the kitchen table and emailed my lawyer, put the lawsuit in. Natalie included. Daniel didn't ask what had happened. He just poured me some tea and sat across from me as if he would stay until it was all over. They sent me a settlement offer, $150,000. Wire transfer if I backed out. The email was cold, no greeting, no apology, just numbers and a soft threat in 12-point type. Daniel read it, sliding the computer across the table as if it could bite it. That's enough, it said. You don't deserve it. It ended with, "You were never ambitious, sweetie." I didn't reply. 2 days later, Natalie's face appeared on the screen, the right lighting and background, the right makeup, the bookcase. She was in an interview. Talking about how she built her career through willpower, failure, perseverance. If you want it, you have to do it yourself. I closed the tab, called my lawyer, determined to follow through. The next morning, Natalie called. I didn't pick up. I called again a third time, and I picked up. She yelled, "No greeting, no questions. What's wrong with you? You're putting me down just because you can't build it yourself? You're asking where my parents got the money?" Silence. Then a reply. "Yeah, I know." I didn't argue. Let her hang up. The court session came faster than expected. I only came to hear the important part. The gray-haired female judge didn't like romance. My lawyer presented the trust documents, bank statements, money transfers. The scholarship, for Natalie, was paid directly through tuition. The marketing sponsorship was recorded in the business activities and also came from my fund. Everything was clear. Natalie's lawyer used pleading arguments. "You're just a clumsy girl who doesn't know anything, but the records show that you've known for a long time. Hiding and lying. But you still claim to be successful because of yourself." The court's verdict was simple: the business must be liquidated, the remaining assets will be transferred to me. Carol and Richard must take care of the rest. They listened silently to the court's conclusion. Carol placed her hands silently on her lap. Richard looked straight ahead as if looking at an unquenchable fire. 2 weeks later, I received the transfer. Not the whole amount, but enough. Enough to start over, to breathe easily without worrying about loss. The news trickled in, whispers from people I hadn't seen in a while, a small article on page 6 of the local paper about the business closing, silence. The house was sold, not public but known. They moved into a house 2 towns down. Natalie moved back in with them, calling it adjustment, which was ironic considering the $39 course she used to sell to people who had just lost a job or a failed relationship. Then a final letter came from Carol. No subject line, just one sentence. "I ruined everything. I'm not family." I deleted it before Daniel could read it. There were nights when I couldn't sleep. I took out Sylvia's letter and read it. It was worn, the corners were soft, but I read it anyway, as if I wanted to see something new. Not to close the story, but because it was the only thing that really mattered to me. I hadn't told anyone what I was planning next. Didn't want to build anything. Just wanted to stand still for a while, finally feel the ground beneath my feet belonged to me. I didn't expect to be this calm. After the trial, after the bank statements, and turning family photos into legal evidence. Mom and Dad and Natalie stopped talking, and I didn't need them. What I had now screamed louder than their silence. We moved to a smaller house, bigger windows. Daniel cooked more, I laughed more. I took it all. The company, the accounts, the emergency fund, everything they'd refused. Even the $150,000 they'd offered to make me disappear. I took it. Unashamed. Because they'd lied to me for years. That money was mine, and now it was mine. I wasn't sure what to do with it. Maybe travel. Maybe sleep without grinding my teeth. I met Marisol, Celia's old friend, for coffee. She brought the photos and told me how Celia had been wild, creative, absolutely in love with me. That was all I needed to hear. Nothing was left unfinished. What is mine is in my hands, I stand by it. Did I go too far? Or not enough? Comment below and don't forget to subscribe.